This is my final twister setup. I've maxed out my rarity, sitting comfortably at 250 rarity to ensure I rain down loot from the sky. I'm effectively unkillable, rocking around 60,000 EHP or so when mapping, but then we also have blind and crazy amounts of crowd control on top of that. And still, I'm dishing out millions of damage and wiping out entire screens when boosting full groups of dogshit newbies. Now, a quick disclaimer. This is expensive as fuck. We're not talking mirrors, but probably 1,500 diviners or so to get this setup fully maxed. Obviously, you're not going to need all of the stuff I'm going to show you, and I've got more budget-friendly versions in the description. I wasn't really planning to make this video, but the fuckers over at GGG dropped a new twister skin, so I had to keep twisting titties for a few more days. I also wanted to send one final twister setup for the juicers out there that want to maximize their loot while being tanky as fuck and capable of standing in any stupid shit you'll find in the game. Basically, I'm going to turn you into a lazy loot machine. Starting us right off, let's take a look at the gems. I'm going to assume you're familiar with some of the interactions here. If not, just watch one of my other videos or read my written guide. First off, if you want some extra juice, you have Spear Throw with Bater's Vengeance. You just throw it out once and you'll get this bonus. But between you and me, I haven't used this in like a week. What I have done, however, is slotted in some insane gems in my Purity of Fire. I'm now rocking a Seraph's Heart. We rarely get hit with this build. But when we do, we have a decent chance of setting our resistances to 90%. And since we have Purity of Fire, we can slot it in here without spending any spirit. The same goes for her Declaration. This one's fucking insane, granting us 10% damage and damage reduction. And lastly, I have Mysticism for extra spell damage, which we of course transform into attack damage via Crown of Eyes, and lastly Clarity. That's more than 100 Spirit of Gems, socketed in without any extra cost. These two goes for 100 diviners each. Fun fact, I bought these as an investment for like 10 divines, as all of these good lineage gems tend to go up in price. Next is Whirling Slash. I've ditched a bit of attack speed for extra defenses, but I'm still rocking at least 8 attacks per second when I've got frenzy charges. More than this is not necessary if you're juicing your maps properly, because there will be enemies all over the goddamn place for you to kill. So less moving, more juicing. Then we still have the typical gems to boost our attack speed. The only one that you need to be aware of here is Medved's Felling. It spends your maximum life every time you cast your skill if this one's slotted in. But this life cost is based on our maximum life percentage. So, I have 55 rage, I lose 5.5% of my life every cast. How much is that? Well, it's less than 1 life because I'm rocking Chaos Inoculation. All I need to do to offset the life cost is grab 1 life regeneration roll somewhere, as it'll grant me like 20 times my life per second. Pretty busted. Next is Twister. I'm still using Salvo, Projectile Acceleration, and then Armor Break 3. But I've also slotted in a Rakiata, of course, and a Garukan for fuckloads of damage. This caps your crit chance at 50%, and I've set up my passive tree and jewels in a way so that I'm getting exactly 50% crit chance when I've got a power charge up, which I do all the time. Or well, not exactly 50, but I think I'm satisfied with that number. We then have Eternal Rage and Berserk. I grabbed a high level on Eternal Rage, even though it doesn't really benefit us because of one reason: Thaumaturgic Generator. This will generate charges for us based on what type of skill gem attributes you have. A lot of strength requirement like Eternal Rage and Berserk will result in endurance charges. But we have Resonance, so those are turned into frenzy charges. And those frenzy charges we can use for our barrage, so a pretty sweet deal there. Berserk, however, you want on as high of a level as possible anyways, because it increases our rage effect. The same goes for charge regulation, as high of a level as possible, that is. For our Wind Dancer, we're using this both for defense and generating power charges that we turn into endurance charges. With this, we'll actually have all of the 3 different charges up pretty much all the time. All we need to do to get these is to hit enemies with Whirling Slash to generate combo via culmination, and then have Aelith's Chimes generate the charges. Then we just fill our with some AoE, Blind, and Maim. Next is a completely new addition to the build, Mana Remnants. But Mr. Big Penis Man, in the last version you told us that you don't need any mana regeneration because we set Whirling Slash to level 1 and spend basically 0 mana. Yeah, but we're going to use this as a defensive layer. I want to shout out my friend B Showers for giving me this tip because it's quite slick. We can go over to the passive tree and pick up Mind over Matter here, and now our mana is extra life for us. All we need to do to use it is solve mana. Not only does Mana Remnants do that for us, but it also overflows our mana. So instead of 700, I get 1,000 or something, which is basically the same as having 1,000 extra energy shield for free. And holy shit, has this saved me a lot of times when I was theory crafting. Next up is our barrage. Important here is that you have it on as low of a level as possible. Because doing this, we can pair it with both Olroth's Conviction and Urtrid's Constellation. And why do we need it to be level 5 for that? Well, hear me out. This will spend Runic Ward. I don't want to invest in Runic Ward, but if I grab just 1 Runic Ward rune for 30 ward, and then also efficiency, then my barrage only spends a total of 12 Runic Ward. And now, all of a sudden, I can spam barrage as much as I want. Pretty neat. Next is a new addition again, Ghost Dance. As mentioned earlier, we got a lot of evasion, and this will be our main source of energy shield regeneration in maps if we actually get hit. And lastly, Herald of Ash. Why Herald of Ash? Isn't that the shittiest herald of them all? My man, or woman, but with a 99% certainty a man, my twisters can deal an average damage of like 2 million damage, meaning I can actually manage to overkill enemies with hundreds of thousands of damage. And Herald of Ash is based on just that, overkill damage. It's 30% overkill damage, and then we can boost it via Swift Affliction by 30%. No other herald even comes close to this. And lastly, we just have some extra supports to boost it. Alright folks, that's the gems. Let's briefly cover the weapon sets and how to solve Spirit here. It's really easy in this setup, honestly. Set 1 will be our attack speed setup that we use to traverse. So this is where we set Whirling Slash, also ensuring we get attack speed from Rigwolds. Twister, weapon set 2. Eternal Rage, unfortunately, has to be active in both weapon sets. Berserk only has to be active in set 2 for the damage, as it does not boost medveds, and we can't benefit from it in weapon set 1. Charge regulation we want in both weapon sets because we want the speed in set 1, the power charges in set 2, and endurance in both. Wind Dancer I want to have in both weapon sets, but I don't have enough spirit because I wanted to save some currency and didn't grab spirit on my amulet. Ideally you do, and have it in both sets. Mana Remnants only has to be in set 2 though, as we can generate Mana Remnants here and still pick them up despite being in weapon set 1. Barrage doesn't fucking matter. Ghost Dance we definitely want in both sets to regenerate energy shield. And lastly, Herald of Ash would be ideal to have in both weapon sets, but having it in just set 2 is fine as well. Getting enough spirit to do this is easy. You just need to corrupt a helmet and get it there, along with grabbing a Morior Invictus. In set 2, you also have a Scepter for extra spirit, which is why we're able to get more gems there. And as mentioned, ideally you'd grab spirit on your amulet too, but I didn't feel like it was worth spending currency on. The build works fine as is. Now, a big problem of having all of these skills is that their attribute requirements are fucking massive. We have strength gems, we have dex gems, and we have intelligence gems. Is this going to be a problem? Not really, let's see why. In our gear, we're using a Morior Invictus with spirit, because spirit is important, elemental resistances, and then attributes. This is how I solve the attribute requirements. And while the attribute roll looks useless for everything other than solving the requirements, they're not. Because we're still getting extra energy shield from strength, using the heroic tragedy jewel. More on that later. For the runes, grab these ones, where you can move your rabbit idol to your scepter if you'd like for extra spirit. I just want the rarity. Looks kind of funny having an empty scepter though, but I couldn't find anything useful to put there. Next we have a mandatory item, Crown of Eyes. We get a lot of spell power from rage stacking via mystical rage, along with passives in the passive tree. Without this, I'm halving my damage. You do definitely want a spirit corrupt here though, but it's easy to get if you just buy a few non-corrupted ones and then corrupt all of them. Next mandatory item is the prismatic ring, of course, because without this, we don't have a build. You've probably seen this one before. I'll probably get a better one later because you could get extra damage corrupt or some better rolls here. For the other ring, you need an unset ring for the extra skill, and then you start stacking up your item rarity. As long as your gear is good, you don't really need a lot of damage here, but having some is nice. Personally, I'd prefer if my resistance rolls were higher here rather than the damage, since that is what I'm missing to cap my resistances currently. But I just don't die. Well, ever. So I haven't been bothered to fix it. Next is a new addition to the build, or Cs. This is a solid 50% item rarity right here, and since we're rocking Chaos Inoculation, we don't have to worry about the downside of spending max life. These are also cheap as fuck, so I slapped on a Cadigan's Epiphany, which costs like 1 divine, and then grabbed a good jewel here. If you want more damage, then you could grab something like this. Don't get Surpassing Chance though, that only works for 1 twister at a time, so it's hot garbage. Alright, and here we have the Mighty Mage Blood. As mentioned, I'm rocking 250 item rarity, effectively making me a rarity bot. This is due to the Mage Blood. I'm using the Gold Legacy here, and then 2 Evasion Jades, which grants me 80 item rarity and most of my evasion. Next, you want a slick pair of sneakers. These are fine. I just prioritized item rarity and a lot of energy shield. You can also get skill effect duration, allowing your twisters to stay up for longer. There are 2 important modifiers here though. One is the life regeneration. You must have this somewhere. I have this here and on my amulet, which you definitely don't want as 1 roll is enough. The other mandatory thing is grabbing a runic ward rune or else you can't cast your barrage. Alright, on to the amulet. Here you want fuckloads of item rarity and projectile skill ranks. I didn't care about anything else when I bought this one. Ideally you'd get spirit here too, but then the amulet goes from like 50 divines to a few hundred if you want a good one, and that's a nope for me. Before checking out the weapons, I've actually got some important charms now. The freeze immunity, one has saved me a lot of times. I've tried running without it, and I hate it, so it's staying. What I did add here is a rite of passage, and there's one that is insanely good, and that is the wolf. Not only does it maim everything for extra crowd control and generate skill speed for us, but it also breaks armor equal to 10% of hit damage dealt. Did you hear that? Yeah, that's the smell of armor breaks via elemental damage. Because our twisters deal mainly elemental damage, it's sometimes hard to armor break in fully juiced maps for our Armor Break 3, but using this, we instantly armor break and keep up maxed frenzy charges. Very nice. You also want a Lavianga here, as we'll make use of some passives that are only up as we have some kind of flask active. For Anoint, we want Thaumaturgical Dynamism, allowing us to generate all of the different charges for charge profusion. You won't find this in the passive tree as it's a hidden anoint though, but to anoint it, all you need is to grab these 3 liquids and slam it on. Lastly, for our weapons, you just want a weapon with as much attack speed as possible in weapon set 1. And for set 2, you either want an insane rare weapon with a lot of damage, crit chance, crit damage, and extra skill ranks, or you just grab one of these. These have an insanely low attack speed base, meaning a lot of damage per twister cast. They also have a high crit chance, which is great, and they're way cheaper than a fully maxed out rare weapon, that's for sure. Oh, and they can make us fly LMAO. Alright folks, that's all for the gear. Let's head on over to the passive tree and check it out. It's probably the most interesting part of the whole build, and where we get most of our power. Starting us off, we have our lesser harm, which is a massive defensive layer, along with forced outcome for 100% crit. The breakpoint for where crit damage becomes much more valuable than crit chance for this passive is roughly around 50 to 60%. And we're staying at 50% anyways for Gigachans, so those two sure pair nicely with each other. We also have unseen paths and entwined realities. Then we have some good stuff. Path down here to grab all of the damage and rage nodes. This is also where I've slotted a heroic tragedy jewel. I'm using it mainly because of this keystone, as it transforms any keystone into this as long as it has the line Varana on it. I have 200 strength, so this one gives me 100% increased energy shield. But I'm also getting some insane nodes here for extra evasion, energy shield, and damage. In PoE2, these are unfortunately very annoying. The seed here dictates what passives you roll, and they are also individual. So to find a good one, you'll have to buy a few, slot them in, and see if you get any good passives, and then sell the shitty ones. You can also ditch these nodes and grab more defenses up here if you don't like using your brain. Either way, we got some good shit here as well. Mystical Rage is mandatory, as it grants me a massive damage bonus via Rage. It also benefits from Berserk, so it's a double bonus there. I've got the passive on a Megalomaniac, so I don't have to anoint it. Then, I have a banging hot cluster over here. We have a bunch of skill effect duration, which is nice, but most importantly, a time-lost emerald. This is where my build comes online, because I'm using 3 of these dirty jewels. These actually carry the build, essentially granting me 2 extra notables for each notable I grab. They cost fuckloads to buy, but I'm leaving a crafting guide in the description so you can make them for cheap. For the modifiers, you want attack speed and crit damage, along with crit chance on 1 or 2 of them, so you cap it. Then we just grab as many nodes as possible to boost it. We have some good ones here, like Warding Fetish, basically making us immune to curses if we pair it with a Kracian's Rune of Warding. It can be a bit difficult to see what nodes belong to set 1 and which belong to set 2, but it should be a bit easier to see in the Mobilytics planner. Either way, we want as many damage nodes as possible for set 2 and attack speed for set 1. We can also grab frenzy nodes in set 1, and we'll keep them despite swapping sets. A big addition to the build here is Mind Over Matter, aka MOM. It basically gives us more than 1,000 extra life pool, as we can use our mana as an extra layer of defense. Pretty nice. After grabbing this, we head on up, grab some defenses and another jewel. For the rare jewels, I just use pure energy shield jewels because I like being tanky. Up here we find Chaos Inoculation, along with a bunch of damage, along with much needed ailment and stun threshold. Also, if you don't have Rakiata's Flow, then allocate this node, because we have a lot of freeze build-up and can use this to remove enemy resistances. But having Rakiata is simply better for juicy content. Down here we find some AoE nodes, defense, and a big-ass cluster of nodes. Resonance, as you know, allows us to generate frenzy charges when we armor break, and then we just grab as many nodes as we can to boost our time-lost emerald. This is big money right here, and you should socket your best time lost here. Lastly, we head on downwards, grab some defenses for set 1 and damage for set 2 along the way, before finding Dance with Death and some attack speed nodes. And lastly, some final attack speed nodes and my Megalomaniac. This one's just fucking nasty, having both Mystical Rage and 30% damage. I paid 15 divines for this one, by the way. The rich get richer. Alright folks, nicely done for sticking around this long. Or skipping here, I guess. Either way, it's time to check out some gameplay. Honestly, I've just made the build more brain-dead and smoother. We now have even fewer buttons to press. It's literally just use whirling slash, press barrage, and then twister. If you're bossing, then you just whirling slash 3 times, barrage, twister, and then you can whirling slash 3 times twister and repeat until you can barrage again. It's that simple. And when you're mapping, you just traverse with whirling slash anyways, so you won't have to worry about anything. Okay, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching my shitty videos. Drop a sub, and I'll see you in the next one.